Welcome to The Explainer. Have you ever wondered how an idea, especially a really scary one, actually gets to you? Today, we're going to trace that exact journey, how a single existential warning about our future goes from a conversation, gets blasted through our massive digital world, is filtered by AI, and ends up, well, right inside your head.
So here's the game plan. We're going to follow this idea through 5 stages. We'll start with the warning itself, then look at the megaphone that broadcasts it, the filter we use to make sense of it, the impact it has on all of us, and finally, the signal we're supposed to find in all that noise.
All right, so let's start at the beginning, with the idea itself, and it's a pretty chilling one. It comes from Mo Gaudat, a former top executive at Google, and he's predicting a perfect storm. And he's not talking about something decades from now. He means it's right around the corner.
Yeah, he really doesn't pull any punches. He's basically saying that the level of disruption and stress coming our way is something no other generation has ever had to deal with, at least not all at the same time.
So what exactly is this perfect storm? Well, he says it's because it's not just one thing. It's this crazy convergence of a whole bunch of crises hitting us all at once. You've got massive, unfixable debt, geopolitical conflicts heating up, the explosion of AI, what he calls the end of the truth, and, oh yeah, the climate crisis just humming along in the background.
And here's the part that really gets you. Look at this timeline. This isn't some far-off sci-fi prediction. He's talking about the next couple of years. He thinks we're going to see a very clear slide into a human-induced dystopia starting right around 2027. That is really soon.
Okay, so you've got this incredibly heavy, world-changing idea. How in the world does it get out there? How does one conversation go from a single room to a global broadcast hitting millions of people almost instantly?
Well, it's not magic, right? It all happens inside this highly structured system. Think of platforms like YouTube as the giant megaphones, but they're not just shouting randomly. They run on a complex set of technical rules, the pipes and wires of the internet, that decide how information gets packaged and sent.
And it's kind of wild when you see the actual mechanics of it. A profound warning about the future of humanity gets boiled down to this: a simple technical process. You just click, upload. The idea becomes a data file, just another drop in an endless digital ocean, waiting to get amplified.
But see, that megaphone works a little too well, and it creates a whole new problem for us. We're all drinking from a fire hose of information. It's just too much. So to even try and keep up, we're starting to rely on new tools to filter out all the noise.
And you've probably guessed it, those new tools are AI. These summarizers are amazing, really. They can take hours and hours of video and in just a few seconds spit out the key ideas, give you a neat outline, and even make a mind map. It turns a long, winding conversation into something you can digest quickly.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a cost to all that efficiency. Something important gets lost in translation. All the nuance, the emotional weight you hear in a person's voice, the real-world context, it all gets flattened into clean, efficient, but kind of soulless bullet points. You get the data, but you lose the humanity.
So what does this constant stream of high-stakes, filtered information actually do to us? Getting these little packets of doom about AI, the economy, and global conflict delivered to our phones all day, it has a huge psychological impact. It really takes a toll.
To help us understand this stress, Gaudet actually came up with a really useful framework. He calls it TAWN, and it breaks down the 4 main types of stress we're all dealing with.
First up, T is for trauma. This one's pretty straightforward. These are the big, external shocks to your life. You know, getting laid off because an algorithm can do your job better, or some other major life-changing event.
Next, the O stands for obsessions. This is all the stuff happening inside your own head. It's the stories you tell yourself, the fear that you're falling behind, that nagging anxiety that you're becoming obsolete in this crazy, fast-changing world.
Now, the first N is for nuisances. And pay attention to this one, because Gaudet says this is what really breaks people. It's not the one big trauma, it's the constant, daily stream of little things. The endless notifications, the stressful headlines, the nonstop emails. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts.
And the final N is for noise. This is that low-level, constant hum of anxiety in the background. It's the stress that comes from just living in a world that feels unstable and is changing at a dizzying speed.
So with all this stress piling up, why don't we just make a change? Well, our brains are kind of wired against us on this. It's something called loss aversion. We are psychologically built to fear what we might lose way more than we value what we might gain.
That means for us to actually leave a stressful job or situation, the new thing has to seem overwhelmingly better, like 2 to 3 times better.
So where does that leave us? This sounds pretty bleak, right? We're in a perfect storm, drowning in information, and our own brains are telling us to stay put. So what now? How do we find the actual signal in all of this deafening noise?
Well, the signal isn't about one magic solution. It's about taking action on every single level. So policymakers need to be building AI safety rules. Business leaders need to actually prioritize their people over profits. And for us as individuals, it's about using tools like that TON framework to manage our own stress and build up our resilience.
But in the end, Gaudat brings this huge global technological conversation all the way back down to something incredibly human. He's challenging this modern obsession we have with making a massive impact, and he asks us to think about what's really important. In a world where AI can do all the work, maybe the only truly valuable thing we have left is just human connection.
And that really leaves us with one final question. This whole system, the megaphones, the filters, the noise, it's not going away. It's just going to keep running. The only thing we actually have control over is our part in it. We have a choice about what we focus on, what we value, and what kind of signal we want to send back out into the world.